What's going on, everybody? And we are logging on to episode 145 of the podcast. We got a very special episode for you guys, as always, with a special guest. We're here with Beth English. Thank you for being here, English. As everyone calls you, Miss English. It's incredible that you're here right now, and I'm so happy you're here. So, how are you?
Oh, I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so excited to be here. I'm doing great. I'm definitely on the upswing.
Hell yeah.
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 Holiday season's around. I've already started listening to Christmas music. I'm that kind of person.
Have you seen that video with Mariah Carey breaking out of the ice on TikTok? I don't know if you have TikTok.
I do have TikTok, but I haven't seen that yet.
Oh my God. All like the skeletons and pumpkins are like hair drying the ice and whatnot, and then she breaks out and starts singing. It's incredible. But yes, the holiday season is coming up. Mm-hmm. As hectic as things may be with the holiday season, it is the best time of year.
Yes.
And I'm probably just as excited as you are for it.
Yeah.
It's my favorite time. December is my favorite month because, one, it's my birthday month, December 12th. I love that. And then you got Christmas, and at the end of December into January, you got New Year's.
Right.
So it's good times all around.
Yes, love that.
And you can't miss out on Thanksgiving either. I have my Friendsgiving coming up, Thanksgiving, and not only that, I don't know if you know this, but our 10-year
Yes, that's happening
reunion.
This Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I heard about that.
Yes.
I don't understand because you guys are like 10. So I can't believe you graduated 10 years ago.
It is insane.
It's crazy.
It's insane. I had a old college buddy come on the podcast for like a wine taste testing the other couple weeks ago. And she told me, she was like, you know that we met each other like 10 years ago? I'm like, what do you mean? 10 years ago? Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, our first year of college was 10 years ago. I'm like, that's also insane to think about.
Yeah, that's 1/3 of your life.
Yeah, it's insane.
1/3 of your life.
It's insane. It's the older you get, the more time flies by, and I think the reason for that is you just value it way more as you get older.
Oh yeah, it's the top commodity.
Oh, it is. It is
what you can, and gift, right? Giving your time to other people.
Yeah.
That's the most important. And the older you get, the perspective switches.
Without a doubt.
And with age comes responsibility, right? Like when you're a kid, there's no concept of time.
Exactly.
Like whatever, it's okay. But once you're an adult, you see, work.
Yeah.
Play becomes, secondary.
Because work is so much more structured in the sense where time is the necessity, you know what I mean? Yes. That where it kind of implies and influences more when you're out of work too and whatnot.
Oh,
and
100%.
how you value your time, which is important, which is totally important.
Yeah.
Speaking of school and college and everything like that, this is something I don't know about you, but where did you go to college?
I went to Villanova University.
Okay.
For my undergrad, and then I went to Rowan University for my master's.
Okay, very nice.
I only went to Rowan, full disclosure, like once.
Just
for the orientation, and then I did everything online.
Really?
Yeah, and I didn't even go to my graduation.
Oh, wow.
I didn't want to take off of work. I didn't want to take off of school. I had a softball game.
Yeah.
And my seniors, it was like one of their last weeks, so I didn't take off.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So are you saying you were working at Township while you were
getting my master's? You
were? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hard worker right there. There you go. So I obviously know you from the beginning from Freehold Township High School. When I first entered that high school, your name was immediately brought up like you were a celebrity of the town, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, wow, I would really love to have her as a teacher one day. I hope I have her in the course of these 4 years. And as the 3 years went by, I was like, damn, I never had her. And then finally, the fourth senior year, I had you as my English teacher. And I was like, yes, like this is something I was manifesting, I was hoping for. And it was a great class. It was an incredible class.
Oh, thank you.
Because, I mean, the thing that sticks in my head the most, and always remember to this day, is, and this is the first year you did it too,
yes,
was the English video project.
Yes.
And I just want to let you know and give a big thank you to you, because I was a shy kid in high school. And not that my confidence was extremely low, but it wasn't as high as it should be now looking back at it, right?
Yeah.
After winning that first year on the video contest, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, this is something that I want to continue to do and everything like that. And here we are today. I'm still continuing doing podcasts, making different videos, and I did want to let you know it's part of it is primarily because of you.
Aww,
and because of that project. It was a fantastic idea. The fact that you had to dress up and do a red carpet and everything like that was incredible. We did the Oscars.
It was Oscars. Yeah, it was amazing.
Incredible. And I wanted to ask you, where did that idea come from?
Well, listen, in my career, my English career, so I taught English for 20 years.
Yeah.
And out of my 20 years of teaching English, I think I've maybe had 5 English majors, right? So it's all about, getting the kids' attention and fostering, being a good human.
Yeah.
Is my number one, right?
Yes.
And what I loved about English is I got to know the kids on a different level because kids are more vulnerable through their writing. So, and the subject lends it to it with discussion and how we interact with the literature and the subject matters that I got to teach. And the cool caveat of that is teaching seniors, because this was their last little nugget before the real world.
Yeah, you're right.
This is the last of it, whether they're going to military, a trade school, a university, Brookdale, it didn't matter to me, or right to the workforce, right? This is my last little nugget. What can I give them at the very end of it, right? And that's why I loved English. But then, people, I was a different type of learner. I was very visual. I was a very visual learner for the majority of my life, still am now. So you'd always try and do different skill sets. And especially towards the end of the year, senioritis hits people. I mean, it hits people in October, right?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Senior year, right?
Yeah,
so I'm halfway through my career, and I'm like, I used to do like dinner parties to end the year where it was like you have to, come up with a theme. Who are you inviting? It's characters from what we read all year.
Oh,
right? That was
that's
like
cool.
Kind of a review. They had to make a menu. They had to, come up with a surprise. Like some people did surprise birthday parties. Like they had to come up with a theme, table arrangements, all that kind of stuff. And it was all literature based. And honestly, it got kind of boring for me. It got a little monotonous for me.
Yeah.
But also, one of the big things about education is the society and how we're evolving. And at that point, the video editing and that first kind of thing started to come out.
Yes, absolutely it did. Especially with YouTube alone.
Yes.
Yes.
So, and that's how we did a lot of the editing with that. And everybody put it on YouTube. And that's how I shared it. So that was a new trend that was just happening. So I was like, how can I embrace this in my classroom? Because I knew that this was kids' things too.
Yes.
And I knew it wasn't mine, but I knew that people could run with this and go with it. So I'm like, how can I incorporate this into my classroom? Because if you get pop culture involved, that's when you hook kids or get them on their interests. Without
a doubt,
they're gonna work hard for you.
Yeah,
and they're gonna take ownership of it, which you completely ran with it.
Yeah,
yeah. And it was great. But I thought every project was so unique in a great and personal in a different way because people put their own spin on it.
Yes,
and seeing people appreciate other people's spins on it was perfect. You know what I mean? So I was just trying to have an end of the year culmination, and it included all different pieces of literature that we read right from it. We started from summer reading all the way up to our short stories.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it incorporated everything. And a lot of times, and I was guilty of this when I was in high school, like, when am I ever going to use this?
Right. That's a classic saying.
Yeah, that's the line. Like, and honestly, like, I want to go back to my like algebra teacher, and she's like, you're not going to have a calculator on you, for the rest of your life. And I'm like, oh yeah? Oh yeah, Mrs. M1, because guess what? Yeah. I calculate my tip on my phone all the time. I'm clearly not good with numbers. I was an English person. But, so it's, I wanted them to have some sort of ownership. It was fun. It was the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then we got to celebrate a whole day. So the project when I saw people running with it, got me more excited about it. Of
course.
So that's when I was like, okay, let's do a whole Oscars day in the auditorium. We'll watch everyone's together.
Yeah.
I think at that point I had 3 or 4 senior classes. So it was a lot of projects to go through. But it made it more fun. And it was one last little moment to share with my seniors before they like graduated.
Yeah,
so it was like my
doubt.
like little gift. Like, I care about you guys. You're the best.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate together. Because life is all about relationships and fostering and maintaining them. Like, still here on your podcast right now, I'm like, oh my God, this is a dream come true. Like, I'm so excited to see you flourish in something that you're good at and you enjoy, and you're slaying it. You're killing it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So as like you were so complimentary, and I'm so grateful for that. But my real love and appreciation for life is seeing you guys flourish, you know, and just being part of that journey for a small amount of whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm like the luckiest person in the world. I'm so blessed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
To be able to be part of someone's life or impact them. And, you know, that's a huge responsibility. So, and that's how I always try to, as a teacher, through that lens. Like, if I had a headache, I was like, get over it. This might be someone's best part of their day. So, like, you gotta, you gotta hold it together.
That's a good look at it, actually. Right. Absolutely.
Like, oh, I had a bad day, or I'm fighting with my husband. Like, no, that all ends as soon as the bell rings, because you gotta take care of kids, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
You never know what they go home to or what they're thinking.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely. This was something I actually wanted to bring up to you because you, in high school, and I'm sure you're still like this now over in Manalapan as well, where you're so upbeat, energetic, and everything like that. And listen, no matter who you are, everyone has their bad day, no matter what it is. What's your tactic in like getting through, like even if it's the littlest thing, like to talk yourself out of it and get through your day and make people's day at school and everything like that? Like what's like your way of doing that? Because it's a before you get into it, it could be a hard thing to do for some people. When people get set off in some sort of way, it's like they're done for the day. You know, like their bad mood will go across the whole day. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So what's your way of like staying in that upbeat, positive mentality?
I will say I think a lot of it is very natural. I always am a half glass full. I'm always like, okay, what can we do? And the older I've gotten and the farther I've gone in my career, I try and be less and less reactionary, right?
Okay.
Because reactionary, it's always heated. And it's funny because, you know, I coached sports, I played sports, and now I'm an athletic director. And sports are passion.
Yes,
sports
of course.
is reaction, all the time.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So trying to hold that. But I was always kind of the lighthearted one in my family, like the smiley one. You know, if you really look at it, sometimes I just try to make people laugh because maybe people were stressed. So like my defense mechanism younger was always smile, laugh, jump around. Everything's going to be okay if everyone's smiling and laughing. So that was kind of my defense learned mechanism.
Sure. Yeah.
And then it just carried on. But feeding off the energy of kids is so easy to stay upbeat. Because their energy is so youthful and they're so energetic and go. But I am like next level energy. Like it is.
Without a doubt.
100%. I understand. My whole life, people are like, people have met me and they're like, there's no way she's like this all the time. Like, you know, like when I first meet people and I'm like, oh, hi, how are you? They're like, okay, sure. This girl, she's too much, you know? And then eventually I just, you know, the hallmark of my personality is I force friendship on people. So I'm like, don't fight this, bud.
Yeah,
I'm going to win you over.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to win over kids when you're smiling, when you care about them.
Yeah.
And when you work hard for them, you know, because I never believe a kid or an adult wakes up and says, I'm going to be a jerk today.
Right.
That's not a conscious choice.
That
There's
isn't a conscious choice.
Always something behind the behavior.
Exactly.
And when you have that perspective, and sometimes it's hard. Like there's definitely times where I like take a breath and I'm cursing in my mind.
Sure.
And I'm like, all right, okay, now I'm gonna, you know, I just felt my feelings and go.
Yeah.
But you know, the pressure of education is, you know, it's different than other jobs. Like, so I waitressed and bartended, right? So if I mess up someone's burger order,
sure.
It was supposed to be rare. I'll go fix it. I can fix it in the kitchen.
Right.
Oh, you want more ranch? I can fix that. Yeah. Everything's fixable in the kitchen.
Yes.
I'll throw you a free dessert. We'll be fine, right?
Yeah.
So that pressure isn't there as in, did I just emotionally scar a kid?
True.
Is this bad?
Right.
So, staying upbeat is feeding off their energies, but also being conscious of, and aware of, you're not the focal point here. You're not the reason. So my motivation was never for me to be the funny teacher. It was for me to connect with kids.
Yeah.
And how I did it was being natural, because that's who I am.
That's the key word right there, natural.
Right. And genuine. Because let me tell you something, kids more than adults can pick it up way quicker.
Oh, yeah.
They know for sure when you're putting on a front, when it's fake. So I never tried to be that teacher like, I'm not smiling for the first month. I wouldn't make that through a day. I wouldn't make it through a day. You know what I mean? Like, the first month I'm going to be no. Like, the more natural and the more I was owning myself and my craft, honing my craft, I was just genuine, natural. It's hard to turn this off, so why fight that?
Right, absolutely.
That kind of thing. And the kids fed that. So if you're having a bad day and I'm smiling and I make someone laugh, that was like kind of my goal. My goal was to break the kid who was like kind of a grumpy Gus in the front row. I'm like, oh, what's the matter? And it's like English, like begrudgingly I win them over. And that was kind of my mission too, was like winning kids over. For whatever reason. But I've always been pretty high energy. I am like the Energizer Bunny, but there's like a 10-minute window before I go to sleep. Like, it's like, it's happening. It's happening.
Oh, right, right. Shut it down.
I just shut down.
Yes.
I just shut down.
Yes.
But I will say I wake up like this. I do. I wake up like this and all that. And I never was allowed sugar cereal when I was little.
Oh, yeah.
Never was allowed. So I was like the generic Cheerios kid, like Odos, like that's.
Oh yeah.
That's what But yeah, I really think feeding off their energy and putting others before yourself. I'm definitely a service-based kind of leader.
Yeah. I see that in myself as well, in a sense. Right. Also, yes.
Right, but there's a fault to that too, right?
Of course.
Like when people are happy around me, I'm at my happiest.
Yes.
But I can't depend on other people to make me happy.
You gotta depend on yourself for that.
So that's been a lot of work as you're an adult, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
And it's a constantly evolving thing. And even now as an admin, being in a different role. So when I was at Township, my whole community base was my friends. They were my go-to. They were my allies. Mm-hmm. I had all the staff. I was close with admin. I had my coaching staff. I had other fellow teachers. Yeah. I had kids. I had parents. I worked at recreation forever.
That's right.
So
That's right.
Freehold Rec.
Yes.
So like I was kind of a staple in the community where I knew a family and then I taught all the siblings. Like,
right.
I became part of, families and part of their experiences, which was great. Mm-hmm. And still now, like being at people, like kids' weddings and officiating students and players' weddings. I mean, it's amazing. It's extremely grateful. I'm so appreciative of that. Mm-hmm. But I also recognize it's not the norm, right? Like,
true. I'm
one of the lucky ones that happened to go into a profession right away from college that I was pretty good at and then I really liked. Yes. So when you like what you do, it's very easy to be happy and passionate and care about it.
Without a doubt.
So that's the driving force. So I don't even think about my energy. I don't even think about my happiness. Yeah. Because it's constantly feeding. And it's all about not staying too high too long or staying too low too long. Mm-hmm. It's all about a balance.
Oh, without a doubt. Yes.
Yeah, because even then I think, like, when I started today, I'm like, I'm on the upswing, I think, because it's hard not to let your personal life affect your professional life, especially when it's a human job. Yeah. Yeah, education is the human factor. It's the most important.
Without a doubt.
Yes. So, yeah, but like my energy, I love it. And it fits my energy being an AD now, which is great. But I'm sorry, as I was saying, now that I'm an admin, my circle went from everyone to like just my admin team because of the information and the privacy and everything that I have to handle.
Right.
And
makes sense.
Being the boss, and evaluating. Yeah. So my circle went from here to a huge tribe to like just that. And I'm not used to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even in high school, like I was class president, played sports, I was in drama, I was in the band, I was in choir. Like I was friends with everybody, you know, I wasn't the most popular kid, but I was good with everyone. Like,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's how I kind of felt like as I was as a teacher, an advisor and a coach, I like had my hands and everything. And then it was like, meh. But the good news is now I'm in charge of everything. So I still know all the drama kids, the band kids, the National Honor Society, all my athletes. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You know?
How, and we'll get into, because that's interesting too that you brought up that it seems like you were a part of most extracurricular activities when you were in school and everything like that, doing all that stuff. But I want to know, when this new position came up, how did that door open for you? And when did you decide it was like, all right, this is like the next step forward?
Right.
You know, when did you decide that was the next step?
I'm still not even sure if that was the next step, but I love it. So listen, the whole landscape of education changed drastically, like the whole world did when COVID happened.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was finishing up my master's, and then, you know, the world shut down for all intents purposes.
Yeah.
And I missed that connection with kids so badly. I missed the connection with my staff. I missed that. And I really stepped out of my comfort zone with technology and learning things and new apps and all this kind of stuff. And we totally embraced that. And right before, so I just got my master's, and then I was named Monmouth County Teacher of the Year. And that really catapulted the trajectory of like possibilities.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because, you know, I was good in the C and E hallway, being English, you know, being the Madonna of Freehold Township.
Yeah.
So like, English, you know, that would have been cool. But with the Monmouth County Teacher of the Year, I started working for the state. So I would go to state assemblies, I'd be on the education committees, I would be doing speaking engagements.
Oh, okay.
So I would speak at the convention, I would go to community colleges and speak to, you know, future teachers.
Oh, wow.
So that landscape really opened my eyes to, wow, like education is way beyond my classroom.
Right.
You know, like I could really help some people here.
Yes.
You know, and I started honing my public speaking skills. So I was like, oh, I feel comfortable. This is great. And it was like getting bigger. So I was like, wow, this is really good. And then my two vice principals called me in, and they're like, Beth, there's an opening at Manalapan. Like, would you want to be an athletic director? Would you want to be a SICA? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I think that would be my path more than supervisor, you know, and God bless the supervisors. But, you know, I don't want to look at curriculum or standards.
Sure.
Or, you know, that's not the part of the job that I enjoyed.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I also think in the position of extracurricular and activities, you have more impact on culture. And I'm definitely a culture person. So even every team that I coached, it was a separate kind of culture, your team building and your common goals kind of thing.
Without a doubt. I would even say even more bonding with the students too, and that majorly bonding with them as well. Yeah.
100%. So for that kind of, I was like, yeah, sure. And it was funny. They're like, okay, well, you know, you're not going to get the first job you put in, but like put your hat in and you got to do it. But like I said, I had just come off the Monmouth County Teacher of the Year run. So like my name was hot.
Yeah.
Like people knew who I was. And, you know, resume wise, at that point, I coached 58 seasons at Freehold Township. So 58 different teams, 5 different sports, and pretty successful at them. So, I had a good run. So it just was kind of one of those things. And I didn't go in there nervous. But after round 1, I really wanted it then.
Yeah, I'm sure you got a nice little taste of it.
Right.
And whatnot.
I was like, oh, I think I just kind of killed this.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I could do this, you know? So after round 1, I really did like really want it and get excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I'm glad I didn't. I interviewed in I interviewed in June.
Okay.
And I got the job in July. So and the job was posted first week of June. So it was very quick.
Wow.
So I didn't really have time to think about it.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad that I kind of went out on Seinfeld. Like I was happy still teaching. I loved it still teaching. But I'm glad I didn't know that was the last basketball game I coached. That's the last softball game I coached.
Like in that moment,
yes.
you mean? Yes,
I would
I
have
could understand
totally been
that.
completely emotional.
I could understand that totally.
I would have been totally girl about it. I know myself. I'm an emotional human being. I get attached. I'm a hugger. I'm a toucher. I'm like, you're so good. I'm a complimenter. Like, that's who I am as a person. It just is like, it spews out of me. I can't help it. So I would have been a complete mush. Yeah. Like, even on graduation day, like, oh my God, this is my last class of seniors.
Yeah.
I would have been a mess. I would have been a mess. But everything happened for a reason, because once I hit the ground running, it was like, I didn't even have time to think of what if. It was like, I got to immerse myself in this job. I got to learn the job.
Right.
Because you think like, golf cart. I'm going to be riding around on a golf cart watching sports.
Right.
Yeah.
It may look easy until you're actually into the position. You get a taste of it and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, first off, congratulations on the position too. And I think it's incredible. I think it's a great fit, first off. Mm-hmm. And I love to see people grow, especially people that I care about as well. Mm-hmm. And not to say that at Township you weren't in a great position or anything like that. No. I would say you were in one of the best positions, like coaching and everything like that. But it's just incredible when I first met you to where you are now, like almost not like, yes, evolving, but almost like climbing up the hierarchy, like in a sense too, you know what I mean?
Right.
So you said you coached several different sports in at Township and whatnot. I obviously know softball, but what else did you coach?
Field hockey, basketball.
That's right. Okay.
Tennis and soccer.
Okay. Very nice. And what would you say is probably your favorite to coach out of all of those?
I would probably lean towards basketball, only because that was my sport. So I think I knew the sport inside and out.
Right.
I also worked with John Sharappa and Steve Gibb. Mm-hmm. So I had two incredible mentors when I'm like 21 years old.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from them right away. Mm-hmm. But the game of basketball, I knew. So I was so secure with X's and O's that I really just had to work on philosophy. And I loved breaking down film for basketball. Like, it was just like one of my passions. But never playing field hockey, right?
Ooh, yeah.
Never playing field hockey, becoming a varsity field hockey coach, I also loved that aspect of it because it reminded me of basketball, but with sticks.
Okay, yeah.
And it was like kind of a challenge to me. So basketball and field hockey were probably my favorite to coach and probably more successful, but basketball because I liked the sport, field hockey because it was a challenge, but both of them are so team oriented.
Okay.
And that's what I love, the team aspect.
Yeah.
So and I still have kind of control in basketball as a coach. Like, I call the timeouts. I'm calling the plays.
Oh, true.
I get to be like, no, we're going to do this press. We're going to do a 1-3-1, or we're going to do a 2-1-2. Like, okay, I can control that. I have some sort of play in this.
Yes.
Right. Where in softball, I'd be like, we're going to bunt. And if you don't put down a bunt, you don't put down the bunt.
Right.
Like, do you know what I mean? Or the ball's hit. Like, it's more like, okay, we practiced. Now you guys got to do it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Where I make a little bit of calls. And softball, even though I was also, played it and it was pretty good, to me, that was an individual sport turned into a team sport. So it was harder to unify people when there's one person throwing the ball, one person hitting the ball.
Yeah, very true.
Where basketball, everyone's got to run the play for it to be successful.
Exactly.
And everyone's got to, do the trap. Everyone's got to do their responsibility or it's not going to work.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So I liked that aspect too of basketball and field hockey of that because it was more team oriented.
I would say softball and baseball, it becomes more of a team sport when it comes to like a field play and whatnot, but otherwise, besides that, there's not much else to it being a team sport.
And the motivation as a coach is in between innings. We're like, all right, guys, we're going to get up to bat, and this is what we're going to do.
Without a doubt,
and there might be only 3 people getting up to bat that inning.
Sure, exactly.
It could be 9, you hope.
Yeah, you hope, obviously,
but it could be 3.
Right,
you know what I mean? So the motivation was also very individual. Mm-hmm. But I liked that aspect too because you needed to know your kids inside and out. Mm-hmm. Like there was one girl that I might be like, let's go. You kidding me? You're going to let this girl throw it by you?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, right.
Where the next girl might be like, you got this. Don't worry about that first strike. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
So, like, you'd have to switch gears within seconds.
Oh, yeah.
You know
yeah.
what I mean? In softball, because it was constant, different motivation. With basketball, it's a timeout. You're calling that 30. You're all fired up.
Yeah.
And you're talking to everybody at once.
Right.
And it's a split thing. Basketball, you can, make a sub every 30 seconds. Softball, it's maybe an at-bat or in between innings.
Yeah.
So basketball was quicker, and it lent to more people getting involved.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So when did you start working at Township? Was it when you were 21? Mm-hmm. It was.
Right at college. So I signed my contract spring break of my senior year at Villanova.
Oh, wow.
So I already knew. I was actually OG, supposed to be at Colts Neck. So
Really?
I originally signed my contract. They're like, okay, we're going to place you in Colts Neck, which was so funny to me because Colts Neck didn't exist when I was in high school. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be in a new school. And then they asked me if I wanted to coach soccer. I was like, yeah. And they knew I was coaching, that I wanted to coach softball and basketball because those were definitely my sports.
Yeah.
So they're like, you know what? We have some coaching jobs over at Township, so we're going to switch you to Township.
Okay.
So like year one, I was a 3-sport coach and a student council advisor.
Wow. Whoa.
And an English teacher.
Wow.
So like from day one, this is the schedule I've known. Like 3 sports, student council. I was student council advisor for 17 years. I wasn't all 20, but 17 years. I was a 3-sport coach and an advisor.
And how was it that first year? What was it?
Drowning 1,000 deaths.
Oh, yeah. I was about
drowning.
I was about to say, like, as a first year, several positions.
Yeah, and you're clueless.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Clueless. Yeah. You really jumped into the fire there. But sometimes that's what brings out the best people, too.
And I made amazing friendships, and I learned from incredible people like, Jen Nolan, Miss Nolan, Christine Clark, Lynn Conrad, like the science department girls totally embraced me. It was a whole new wave of young teachers that we all hung out with, right? And like Miss LaPlaga, right? Melissa LaPlaga and I are still best friends. I was maid of honor in her wedding.
Oh, wow.
We taught teaching English. We started together. So you had that young crew of McAvoy, Smith, Galinsky. That was a crew that we all started together.
Yes.
And we were all young, and it was great. D'Ambrosio, all of them, we all started at the same time. And then you add Ferrando, Stoya, you get the younger guy,
Yeah.
And so it was a cool atmosphere. It was friends and a family within the walls of a building.
Right.
And you leaned on each other.
Yeah,
and
you gotta.
You asked help, and like I said, I worked with incredible coaches there that they really helped me and mentored. Like John DiVincenzo, he was the guidance counselor. He was the softball coach. Ann Curis, who's now a principal.
Oh, wow! Good for him.
I learned from incredible people, and I played for incredible people. Like my high school career, I played for awesome coaches.
And you probably learned a lot from them too, as well.
Oh, 100%. And the only reason I'm an English teacher is because of my freshman English teacher, Mrs. Patterson.
Really?
I wanted to be just like her. Just like her.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I couldn't tell you really anything we read in her class. I know we read Romeo and Juliet, and I know her favorite character was Benvolio. But after that, I couldn't tell you anything. But I can tell you how she made me feel every day. And that was always my motivation. And it reminds me of the Maya Angelou quote, like, people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a great quote.
Right. And that's what I was like, I want to be her. Because I actually went to college pre-law. I was going to be a lawyer.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I switched my majors. And at that point, I could either be a history teacher or an English teacher. And everyone's like, oh, you picked English because your last name, right? And I was like, no, Mrs. Patterson. Yeah, I want to be Miss Patterson, I just want to be her, So it was really cool. And I'm still friends with her. Now on Facebook, we talk.
Awesome.
When I got the Monmouth County Teacher of the Year, she was in my speech. Like we all have
great.
We all have that one person, right?
Yeah, of course.
That person that believes in you or you want to be like, or,
biggest inspiration sort of deal.
Especially in education. I don't think anyone just picks to be education. They had someone that I want to be like them or inspire them, right? So she was definitely my inspiration to be like that.
Wow.
And she didn't coach anything. She didn't coach.
Oh, no. Okay.
No, she was pure English. She was a student council advisor, but not sports related.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow. So how long have you been in Manalapan now?
I'm just finished my third fall season. I'm in the middle of my third year.
Very nice.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're enjoying it and everything like that. We
love it.
Yeah, we were talking at Luke's wedding where we reconnected, and this is basically how this podcast became possible through that and whatnot. But it from what I've heard from you, you seem to be very much enjoying it and everything like that.
Yes,
so I'm happy about that.
Fits my energy and my reach is further. So not only do I have all the kids come into my office because you're a disciplinarian, whether you're in a sport or an activity. You know, I'm immersed in the school community. Yeah. So that's awesome. And then I get to help staff and I help coach coaches, which I love. Like, I was like, talk it out with me, you know? Yeah. And staff, because I do staff evaluations too. So I still get into the classrooms. And then parents. You know, parents are such an important tenet of a high school career. You know, you know what I mean? In any aspect. So helping and communicating with parents, I love that too. You know, because you need a village. It takes a village, especially in the landscape that they're growing up in now. This generation, they're fully digital. They're the first fully digital generation. Yeah. During a very important time, the world shut down to them. Right. So there's a lot that society we have to make up for.
Without a doubt.
Because we didn't know. It's nobody's fault. But we can't put our hands up and be like, oh, these kids aren't like kids anymore. Like, they're so hard to coach, or they don't do this, they don't do that. Like, we can't complain. We actually got to start helping them. Yeah. Give them some tools in their toolbox. You know, so even with parents, you know, people think I'm crazy, and I'm like parents want to fix everything. They're parents. They love you. They're mama bear. I totally understand that. Right. But I'm like, those moments of struggle, like, your kids can struggle. Yeah. I know it's hard. But those moments of struggle, that's where they develop the tools in their toolbox to overcome adversity. Absolutely. So my big key phrase is facilitate, don't fix, especially on the high school level, because we want to make, you know, future adults, right? Absolutely. This is what we're trying to endorse here. Yeah. So I'm like, they need to self-advocate. You know, the first thing is, like, if someone calls me for playing time, that's like one of the big things, right? Playing time. First thing I say is, did your child talk to the coach? It's number one. That's the first line of communication. Without a doubt. I can't have this conversation if that hasn't happened. Yeah. Yeah. You know, and listen, I have a finger on the pulse of all my programs, but I'm not at every game. I'm not at away games. I'm not at every practice. You can't be everywhere at once. I'm not at practice. I'm not in the locker rooms. Yeah. Like, you know, I don't know what's said or expectations. That's number one. Yeah. You know, you're not going to get the right answer from me because I don't have it. You know what I mean? So that's like one of the number ones, to self-advocate and those tools. So, and parents struggle with that sometimes, and understandably so. Understandably so, because they want the best, the very best for their child and everything like that. And, you know, I would say more than less would attempt to make that as much as possible for that to happen and whatnot. Right. Which isn't a bad thing at all. No, it's not. But a kid, especially in middle school and high school and whatnot, has to learn on their own. And I thought you brought up a great point that you, like I said before, almost getting thrown into the fire. You're like, you got to learn by yourself to get yourself out of it and whatnot. Oh, 100%. And in those struggles and whatever it may be, that's when you learn. That's when you realize, and you learn and realize who you are. That's what it is. And, you know, that goes for middle school, high school, and I would say college as well. Yeah, and even in the adult world. Well, listen, every day is a learning experience. 100%. You know, without a doubt. Without a doubt. But it's great that you have parents, teachers, everything like that to help you along the way. You need that. You need that, you know. And that's why, like, a role that you have now, a role that you had in the past as an English teacher and everything like that, principals, guidance counselors, all that stuff is so important. It really is. Yeah. And I feel like that had to have been one of the main reasons why you wanted to study in college after the pre-law. Yeah.
of why you wanted to do something like this. Am I wrong in any sense of the word on that?
100%. I'm always sense of community and a big team. Like I was born into Team English. You know, we all played our role, and I loved that. I loved working together, loved helping people. But with that, I always feel like with the evolution of growth and reflection, I get better every time I help someone, right? Because, and listen, there's a lot of people that love me and like, oh, English, but like I've messed up along the way. Gee. And one of the biggest things advice that I give to my staff, and especially my coaches, like, you can own your mistakes. Like, kids respect that. Like, after a game when I'm like, yeah, that's on me. That was on me. Like, it hits different.
It does.
You know,
it does.
You can't play that plain game where you're blaming kids, right?
No
one shoots to miss. That's another thing that I always say to my coaches. I'm like, no one shoots to miss, guys.
Right.
Reel it in.
Right.
But that reflection piece of growth, like, I'm always like, oh, I could have done that better.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I even had a meeting today. I'm thinking back at it, and I was like, I should have done this. I'll do that next time. Or, you know, I should really check this emotion and that. Like, you know, be less, like take a breath, you know, kind of stuff. So it's constantly learning and navigating, you know.
Without a doubt.
That kind of thing, for sure.
Yeah, and I think, you know, owning up to it especially in front of like your kids or your students or whatever the case may be, the kid actually respects that a lot and actually loves it. Like, and I could even speak for myself. Like, my dad, who always thinks he's right and everything of that nature, when he does own up to something, and even my mom too owns up to something, I'm like, all right, yeah, you know what? Like, now I want to be that way too now, you know what I mean? Like, owning up to your own mistakes or whatever the case may be is so important too. And it's all a learning experience throughout the way. That's what it is. And it doesn't matter what age you are either. It doesn't matter what age you are.
And it's perspective. Like, the older you get, like, I'm very hard on myself. I'm very harsh on myself. Like, I should have done this, or I could have done better, and all this.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, like, no one cares, Beth. No one cares about this. No one cares about that. Like, you're judging so harshly on yourself. Like, I have to catch myself, like, remember what you say to kids. Remember what you say to your staff. Like, when you build them up, like, yeah, that's right. You know, so it's constantly evolving, and admitting that you're wrong, but then not repeating the mistake is what's key.
That is what's key. Yes, absolutely. Would you say you're someone that is usually hard on yourself? Like, I'm the same way as well. Like, and it could be over the littlest things sometimes, and like after whatever happens, like I'll overthink it.
Oh, 100%.
You know, like. And I feel like a lot of people are like that.
Right?
I am a Sagittarius.
That's a biggie for a Sag.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I don't really follow the signs like that much.
Oh, we could do a podcast on astrology one day if you'd like.
Yeah.
To
Oh, yeah. I would love to do that. Okay. You could teach me all about it. I'm I'm very hard on myself sometimes, and it could be over like the littlest mistake.
Right.
You know, and I feel like that happens with more people than not, but you kind of have to learn how to get through that, I guess, in a sense and whatnot.
Right.
You know, and like you said before, like, just try not to make that mistake again.
Right.
That I think that's what it comes down to.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're probably a people pleaser too.
Without a doubt.
Like, I feel that we are harder on ourselves because we're people pleasers.
Yeah.
And as an educator and as a coach, you kind of had to let that go. Like, not everyone's going to like you. But I still tried for that. I still strove.
Yeah, right. The attempt was still there. Yeah.
Right. And honestly, when I mess up, the majority of the time, I hurt myself. No one else. But I still beat myself up on it. And I'm like, you know, so guilt-ridden with it. But, you know, with age, that's gotten a lot better. You know, I try and work through that and not repeat that. Right. But, you know, that is probably one of the hardest things. And especially, like, going back to my energy and being so happy all the time. Yeah. It's almost like I'm not allowed to have a bad day or have a bad moment.
Yeah, right.
Because, like, I'm not smiling and someone's like, what's the matter? I'm like, nothing. I'm thinking about 100 things right now.
And, like, you yourself think it's like, oh, my God, people are making this the biggest deal in the world right now.
And I'm just like, I'm really stressed right now.
Right.
I'm just not smiling, skipping down the hallway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, when you're like that, a lot of times people are like, what's wrong? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, like in panic mode.
What are you talking about? I have 100 things in my mind right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like that's a caveat of that too. And then I'm like, what? Was I mean? No, I'm not. What am I doing?
Yeah,
you know,
right.
So that's how you judge that. So that's fun though.
Let's transition over into rec camp, like you brought up before too. That's another thing a lot of people knew you for, especially when I first joined. I believe I didn't really know you yet until I got into high school, but I believe you were still a counselor or in some sort of position when I was a camper there.
Right.
And then when I became a CIT, I believe you were the CIT director.
Yes.
And that was fun too, because we had like the training sessions and everything like that. And obviously you're energetic as always and everything. It was a very entertaining training sessions and everything like that. How long were you there at the Michael J. Ty Freehold Township Summer Rec Camp?
I think I was there about 7 summers.
7 summers.
About that.
Okay, gotcha. And you left after you started coaching more? Was that what it was?
No, I actually loved being there as a coach because a lot of my players worked there, so I always kept an eye on them in the summer and did like check-ins with them.
Okay, gotcha.
Which was really good.
Yeah.
But I went to teach. I did summer school until I did recreation, and then I went back to summer school.
Okay.
And then I bartended and waitressed because even though I love my job, I needed a break from kids.
Yeah, okay, makes sense.
I was starting to be like, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
I can't do it. Like, you know, because then, you know, because it's one of those jobs you take home. You worry about kids.
Yeah.
You lose sleep about, you know, kids that aren't yours.
Sure. If that one kid was having a bad day or whatever, you're probably thinking about them. I was like, oh, I hope he has a better night or I hope I'm better next day.
And going back to everything's fixable in the kitchen.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't make the drink. Oh, just here. I'll dump it. I'll make you another one.
Right.
You know, it's fixable. It was mindless, and there was less stress about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
There was less stress when it came to it, and that's
gotcha.
Really why I switched because I'm like, I need a break.
Okay.
But that's also something that I'm trying to bring now into this new position, right? Is where I'm trying to, now that I've navigated 2 years, I understand the job a lot more, even though I'm constantly learning. But I have a better hold on it now and a better fix. So it's like, you know, the scheduling. Like, I don't schedule games on every Saturday. I have to give one Saturday that I'm not going, you know, to 20 Church Lane.
Yeah, right.
You know,
right,
okay, and like, take a breath, Beth. Like, you deserve a Saturday.
Yeah,
like,
sure,
you know, that kind
absolutely.
Of thing. So, or
like a treat yourself moment.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't have to come in at the beginning of the school. Like, you know, I don't have to be there at 7:15.
Oh, okay.
You know, because my hours are so late, right? Like, I have to be at every night event.
Right.
So now I'm like forcing myself to like go in a little bit later, take a breath.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And it's nice working out and just taking my time in the morning. Like,
yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So, but I'm making myself do that, and it makes a huge difference.
Oh, I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. Now, as far as the actual your job itself, right? Are you organizing the sporting events? Are you talking to other coaches and other sports organizers at other schools of like, okay, maybe we'll do this weekend for a matchup in basketball or something like that?
Right.
What exactly does the job entail that you're doing?
Oh, love it. So we meet as a division. So the short conference is 48 schools, and it's basically Monmouth and Ocean County.
Okay.
And then out of the short conference, you have division teams. So we meet, Manalapan's base alignment is A North. So we meet as an A North once a month. We either go over issues, scheduling, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So we will do scheduling 3 times a year. We do the fall, we do the winter, and then we do the spring.
For what? Every sport?
Every sport.
Gotcha.
So it's almost kind of like, I want to say like a meat market kind of, because you sit down and all of a sudden they're like, okay, girls soccer, right? And you like go scurrying around this room.
Yeah.
Because I have a list that I give my coaches, like teams you want to play, teams you don't want to play, teams you want to scrimmage.
Oh, okay.
So like the scheduler for the short conference schedules your division games, but you have to pick up like another 12. to make a full schedule. So you're like running around like, oh, okay, oh, Brick, oh, I gotta go see, Jay, you want to play me?
Oh,
so,
that's
great. How it is. And of course I would never know that, right? Yeah. So I'm like looking at my list, and then like people are like, "Hey Beth, do you want to play us here?" I'm like, "Nah, you're on my no list. Sorry, bud. No, you're on my no list. You must be really good." Or
it's like a board game or something like that. Yeah.
Is. But again, fostering and maintaining those relationships, right? You make that schedule, and then all of a sudden, you make it. We'll do the fall scheduling actually Friday for next year.
Oh, okay.
We're doing it Friday.
Wow.
Which means you have this all set up, and then all of a sudden you're confirming over the summer, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we don't want to play." And it's like, oh, don't do me dirty now.
Yeah,
don't
right.
you do me dirty. Right. I'll remember this. I'm not going to forget this. Yeah. When you need a favor, oh, I need a senior night. Yeah, I'll remember this.
Right.
But I don't really hold grudges, but there are, I never want to be the person who either undersells or oversells.
Sure.
As an AD, I try and be like, hey, we were really good last year. We're losing 8 seniors. My goalie's coming back. Like, I'm pretty honest,
Yeah.
Because that's the integrity. You don't want to lose that,
of course,
in this position. And same. So once you do your scheduling, then you put it in the computer, then you do the officials, then you get your busing, and then
Gotcha.
and then just logistics. So like I can't schedule boys and girls soccer at the same time home because there's not enough fields.
Right.
So so that logistical, you want to make sure like okay. So I have like little Da Vinci codes, I call it, like highlighters and everything.
Yeah.
So I highlight like for basketball, it's difficult because of the gym space because you got to do girls basketball, boys basketball, and wrestling.
That's probably the hardest out of all the sports.
Right, all in the same gym.
Yeah.
So like if I have a wrestling match, all hoops have to be away.
Right.
If I have a girls' home match, wrestling can't be here and boys have to be away. So that is the logistical of it.
Yeah.
And then after every season, I give my coaches a Google form, assistants, volunteer, anybody who works. They fill out, and it's very reflective. It's like, and I make them give a compliment to their staff, compliment to their kids, one lesson that they learned, one decision they made that they would change if they could go back, because that's just the reflective piece.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And then I fill out my evaluation, then we just talk. I like ask them just questions like, how can I help you in the off season? What that kind of stuff. But I'm really lucky. I have great coaches, really open communication. Full disclosure, I was a little nervous being a female, taking on this role. Mm-hmm. You would think in 2023 there's a lot more of us, but there's not. There's only 4 in the short conference.
Out of how many?
48.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of us.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I think the short conference very proactive. They give us a lot of platforms. Yeah. I know I've done some podcasts and some speaking engagements on student mental health that they really encourage and let me
that's great.
Support.
That's
which
fantastic.
Is really, really great.
Yeah.
And then I do some diversity and equity inclusion with, our non-binary and transgendered athletes, vocabulary and resources. They allow me to do that. So that's really proactive when it comes to a conference. So I'm really proud of what we're doing. Because even at our national conference for athletic directors, like I was so excited to go to all these diversity, meetings and speakers. And I'm like, oh, wow, we're like really on the forefront already. Like New Jersey, California, New York, we're like really progressive.
Yeah, without a doubt.
When it comes to equity and inclusion, especially recognizing the mental health issues in our student athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's huge.
It is huge. It is huge. I think sports is a huge outlet for expressing how you're feeling, either that or getting your mind off things and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And, playing sports and being athletic and moving your body, it's all healthy, and it makes your mind stronger too. And the fact that you're speaking about all these things and whatnot at conferences, podcasts, all that stuff, also being a sports director too, I think they both go hand in hand, in a sense, and I think that's incredible. Good for you for that as well.
Oh, thanks.
So
It's just one of those issues that you can't ignore, right? Because like
No.
high school is a microcosm of college, and it's a pandemic on the college level, the mental health of athletes, right? So we have to be recognizing it. And I work with the student ambassadors, which is basically 2 athletes, male and female, from every short conference school. They have a representative, male and female.
Okay.
Which is very cool. So
Yeah.
when we asked them, like, what issues do you want to hit? Number 1 was mental health, and number 2 was sportsmanship. Because but again, they are dealing with issues that I never dealt with as a high school athlete. There's such pressure. There's, burnout because they're only playing one sport for the rest of their lives, right? After basketball season, I put the basketball down and I picked up a softball bat.
Right.
That doesn't really exist now. The idea of a 3-sport athlete is so rare because people are specializing in one sport because it's the rat race of the youth. Like, oh, my kid's going to get a D1 scholarship. That 4% of a high school athlete gets a D1 scholarship.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's not a full ride. But people have created this narrative in their head.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we're going to go D1. All right, I'm going to start investing when you're 10 to be a lacrosse player. And then Johnny at like 15 is like, it's not really my jam anymore.
Yeah.
But now they feel guilty because their parents have planned vacations around their tournaments.
Sure.
They've had an investment. So now they're going through the emotions.
Yeah.
And then they feel the pressure to produce and get good stats, even though they're really not into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's a terrible pressure for kids.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. So then they're burning out. They're not, getting it. They're losing the concept of they're looking at the end result. And the end result of a season is the stats, right? When really it should be the journey.
Without a doubt.
I couldn't tell you any of my stats in high school, but I could tell you the songs we listened to on the bus ride and who I was next to and what seat I had.
Yeah.
And, the one time that we heard our coach fart, like, that was amazing. Like, we lost it. Like, that was those were the memories. But they're lost focus of that. Because anytime you become something that's bigger than yourself, you're going to win. Once you put forth some energy for the collective, it's going to be great.
Yes, I agree.
But it takes very hard, and it's very rare for a teammate who's not successful stat-wise to be part of that collective. It takes a very special person to be like, I'm just here with my buds.
Just to have a good time.
For the good vibes.
Yeah, exactly.
For the good vibes.
Exactly.
Because they might even really own that, but then they get picked up by their parents and be like, oh, you didn't even play a minute today.
Yeah.
So now they might feel guilty.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, they're an important tenet. Like, the parents got to be on the same page, the students got to be on the same page, and staff, coaches, admin, teachers, guidance counselors, all are the important tenets to umbrella the mental health.
Without a doubt.
It has to.
Yeah.
And sports is just highlighted. Kids struggle across the board. Doesn't have to be sports.
Doesn't have to be sports.
It doesn't have to be sports.
No.
But it's so magnified and socialized. I just got 20 points, 20 rebounds, and you're like really happy about it, and then someone gets 25, 25, and now you're like,
yeah, right,
like your personal record isn't good enough anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because everything's instant.
Everything's instant. And the other thing, and I think this is a more of a back of the head sort of thing, where everything has to be compared. Mm-hmm. And you know how people say, like, listen, life's not a race. Like, you may be other people succeeding in this, succeeding in that, doing this, doing that. Mm-hmm. And you're here like, just calm down, dude. Like,
take a breath.
Take a breath. You're at your own pace. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a big thing to always remind yourself as well. In any aspect,
and
sports or any, or just life in general, Well,
if you live life like a race, you're actually living to the end. Why are you racing to the end?
That's a great way to think about it too,
if
right?
You live like, oh, they have this and they have that now, like pushing forward. A race ends, and our ultimate end, as Hamlet would say, is the undiscovered country that no traveler has returned.
There you go. Love it.
So why that mindset is not good.
Yeah.
And it's tough, though. It's tough. It's tough not to compare.
Of course,
And
of course.
It's tough not to want. Like, when is it my turn?
Yeah,
you know,
right,
when's that
right,
gonna
right.
happen? I mean, that's natural. It's human instinct.
It is.
It's all about just checking yourself.
Yes.
Because, you know, people might be blessed in many different aspects of their life, but they don't have what you have in another aspect.
Without a doubt.
You
Right.
know? Like, I would have loved to have the white picket fence and 4 kids in the minivan.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
and be a mom and have a 20-year marriage. It's just not where I was pictured and I was going to be in my 40s, but I'm so blessed in so many other ways. So embracing that and letting go of your misconceptions, when you let go of the expectations of your life and just live your life, it's probably better than you could even imagine.
I would probably think that that's when things start to happen.
Right. Like, oh, I should have this and should that, because that's what I wanted and that's what I thought. But you let go of that, you could have better. Why limit yourself to that?
Right.
When you know.
I wanted to ask you this too, when you brought it up, how like the parents and the kid would focus more on just one sport nowadays and try to really push for that one sport to go D1 or whatever the case may be. Why do you think that is now, when it really should be the way that you were kind of saying it, or the way you did it for that matter, where play multiple different sports, see what the kid actually likes to play and enjoys? Like, why do you think it's like nowadays it's turned into, it's like, all right, this is what you're gonna play, we're going to get you good at this sport, and we're going to get you to enjoy this sport. You can't force something like that. But why do you think that is nowadays?
Right. Well, I think the market and the money making of sports is exponential, right?
Well,
you
yeah.
can't go down a highway where there's not an academy or a sports facility. It's
true.
You know, it's a moneymaker.
Yeah, it is.
You have people selling the dream, like, come to my academy.
Right.
Come to my trainings. Oh, you didn't make this team? You can make this team. And we travel and we get seen and we do showcases.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they're selling the dream. That sounds great.
Of course.
You know,
Of course.
And parents at that point are making the decision for their kids.
Yeah.
Because now, that doesn't mean the parents are doing it wrong. I'm not saying
No,
that too.
it's almost
their
like
interest,
paving a path for
right.
them.
They are trying to set up what is best for their child.
Yes, of course.
But, you know, I know 40-year-olds that don't know what they want to do for the rest of their life, let alone 12-year-olds or 10-year-olds. You know, and let's be honest, I said the percentage, I think, is 4% for D1, might be even lower, but 6% of high school athletes continue their career. That could be junior college, community, D1, D2, D3. Out of that percent, it's even low that they play all 4 years. Because people,
and that could be for multiple different reasons.
That could
injuries,
be,
whatever
right.
the case may be.
Injuries, you don't vibe with the coach.
Sure.
It's not what you expected. It's like a full-time job.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
oh, I have to lift. I have to do this. I have to do that. Yeah, you know, it's a lot. And then you become your own person, a sense of who you are or who you want to be.
Yeah.
In those 4 years of college, right?
Without a doubt.
You know, that's where you really evolve. When you're on your own, but you're also, again, forced. You're forced to fix your own problems.
Yeah.
You are on your own. You're forced to facilitate. You're forced to struggle and overcome.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So that is a moment. So when these people are specializing in sport, it's probably with their parents. And listen, their parents are investing time, money, vacations. They're dragging around siblings sometimes to these things. So when a 12-year-old is the pinnacle of the family unit, that's already underlying pressure.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
And what I try to preach and encourage is a multi-sport athlete is a better teammate. Yeah. And forget about athletic ability. You're a better teammate. Not only are you resting physical muscles, you shouldn't be, you know, playing lacrosse 12 months.
No.
You're using and utilizing the same muscles while you're growing.
It's almost like you're going to the gym and just working biceps 5 days a week.
Right.
Straight.
And during the pinnacle time of your growth, you're only using, so that's not good.
Right.
It's more, I'd love to see the research on like the injury prone of that, like a specialized sport.
Yeah.
Right. Number 2, I think you should be playing for as many different coaches as possible, because you learn to overcome different coaching styles. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You are on the same travel team with the same guy that's going, you only know his viewpoint and how to react to him.
Right.
You know, you don't learn how to, you know, please one person or what's good in there. It's a learning game. And again, kids pick up on that so much. So we should give them the opportunity to learn from different people, different coaches, different styles. Not only that, be a better teammate by playing with different people.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Right. And listen, you might be the best soccer player in the world, but you can't hit a basketball shot. That's also humbling. Like, listen, I'm the stud softball player, but I'm not that good in soccer.
Right.
That teaches humility and humble and like how to be a good teammate and be like, okay, I don't have to be the best, but what's my role?
Definitely humbling, without a doubt.
Right. So when you foster that at a younger age, a lot of these problems that we're facing now would dissipate. Right? There would still be issues there, but it would dissipate. Right. And, but people are like, I can't get a scholarship or be successful if I don't play. I got to specialize in one sport. And I'm always like, oh, yeah? It worked out for Aaron Judge.
What did Judge?
Aaron Judge was a football, basketball player, and a baseball player.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Worked out for him.
Yeah.
It was okay with
I
him.
think it more than worked out for him.
Right. I mean, we are talking about, a complete, next level, blue chip athlete.
Yeah.
But again, he did not play baseball since he was 10 all the way through to become a major leaguer. You know what I mean? That you don't need to do that.
Right. And the other thing is, too, probably with, I would assume, with most major league athletes and everything like that, I don't think they had maybe even a slightest clue that this is what they wanted to strive for in that nature, I'm sure they all played different type of sports. And like you said, it makes you a better teammate and everything like that. And I think that's what coaches, athletic directors, that's what they look for.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Those intangibles are the recruitables. And that's what I try and tell people. So, like, if someone is recruiting you, or let's just say they're not recruiting you, but they're at the game recruiting your opponent, but you pick up your teammate, and you're positive. You're that spark plug. You're gonna get noticed.
Like, of course.
You know what I mean? You shoot and miss, and then put your head down, and like your poopy pants running back down to the field. Like, that's not a good look.
Not at all.
Nobody wants that on their team.
That could affect yourself and your gameplay, and your teammates too.
100%.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna play on the next level, everybody's good.
Yeah.
Are you coachable? Are you a good teammate?
Right.
Are you adding positivity?
Yes.
Because no one wants to deal with the hot mess.
No,
they don't have time. And on that next level, they don't need to have that time. Like, okay, bud, you're gone.
Right.
So it's those intangibles that are the most important.
Yeah.
And that's why when I was a coach, when I would sell my players to college coaches, those are the first things I always mentioned. It was what role they played on our team and how they owned their role.
Yeah.
And then superseded it. And, it was really, they were successful in that. That's what I would sell first. Because if they were looking at them, they knew they could score goals or they knew they were a great defender.
Yeah.
But how can I really market them? And it was selling their leadership qualities, their potential, their ability to pick up their teammates.
When do college scouters and whatnot usually come by? Is it more towards the end of a season?
Yeah, it's changed a lot because of technology, right? So it was never really in season because you got to remember when, let's go field hockey, right? When you're in high school field hockey season, so is colleges.
Okay.
So they can't really recruit there.
Right.
But there's a lot of now showcases and teams in every sport now. There's a lot of, and now we have Huddle, which I don't know. Do you know what Huddle is?
No, I'm not.
So
sure.
Huddle is a sports streaming service.
Oh.
And it actually even breaks down the film. So it breaks down and gives you stats.
Really?
Oh, it's crazy. And
for just like high school and college players? Really?
Yeah, like if you buy the program, like it's not just free.
Right.
But we do it. I pay for it for the school in Manalapan.
Oh,
so
wow.
it breaks down the film, which I wish they had it when I coached because I would coach basketball and then take more hours to rewatch the game and break down like assists, rebounds.
Right.
They do that right away.
That's incredible.
Within a 24-hour period.
That's incredible.
And then they give you the shooting percentages from each spot. Like the amount of information you get is incredible. But not only that, you have every game on film. And then they can make highlights. I can click 55 and they put a highlight reel of just my number 55.
Yeah, it generates it basically.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So a lot of recruiting has become less in person now.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that. right?
Okay.
Because of that aspect.
Do you like that?
I do and I don't, because I got recruited because I got lucky and people saw me in a good inning, stuff like that. So it takes that aspect of it away.
Yeah.
Because I still say recruiting is luck. You might be the best pitcher that the team could ever have, but they don't need a pitcher. They really need a second baseman. Sure. So you just can't fill that role.
I was even going to go a different direction with that. I was like, maybe you just had a bad day on the field.
Right.
And whatever recruiter was just happened to be there that day,
right,
too.
It doesn't look.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Because it's, one game doesn't define you, right?
Right.
Or even one inning.
You see, that's where that generator is a big plus, because if it's highlighting every single game, that's definitely a huge plus, because you're most likely getting more of the good highlights. It's definitely not going to show any bad highlights, that's for sure. No. So that's great.
And again, the money that's involved in high school sports now, there's a lot of recruiting agencies that will do a personalized video for you. Like, hey, give us $250. We'll send this video out. We'll be your liaison.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. Because it's really a lot less on high school coaches and all travel where the recruiting happens.
You bring up like the money in like high school sports now and everything like that. Either do you know, or what would you think is like the most expensive sport to be playing nowadays?
From a athletic director's point of view, my budget, football is probably the most expensive.
Because of equipment?
Because of the equipment and the volume of the games. So I have to get police officers at all the games. I have to pay all the workers, it's security.
The most popular.
Right.
Yeah.
And the volume of it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the most officials. You have 6 officials on the field. Then you have a timer. Then you have a chain crew.
Okay, yeah.
So just now, granted, we don't have as many games as soccer does or basketball, but before the whistle blows, you're easily thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
That's just hosting a game. And then their equipment's the most expensive. And rightfully so, because you got to send out helmets to get,
probably approved and
make sure there's safety.
Yeah.
So I get the aspect of that.
Yeah.
But then there's some interesting sports where you don't realize how expensive it is. So, for example, ice hockey. You have to rent out the ice. So, like, we don't have to rent basketball.
No,
we don't have to rent our basketball. We have it.
You have it there.
So all the sports that are not on campus are expensive with the rental fees. So that's like ice hockey is probably the most expensive with the ice rentals.
Yeah.
But then bowling alleys, you have to rent out the bowling alley.
True.
And swimming, we have to rent out the lanes.
I have a good
and
swimming,
golf course. Those are the 4.
Golf course. I was even going to bring up tennis courts too. Like Township, I feel like was pretty lucky having their tennis courts there.
Right.
But I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like some high schools definitely don't have tennis courts either.
And I'm actually lucky at Manalapan that we have a great relationship with Manalapan Rec.
Okay.
And they let us use the town right across the street.
Oh, nice.
So that's actually where we practice and have
it is right across the street. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's
perfect.
A huge plus,
we're very lucky for that aspect. But it's reciprocal, right? So, like, if I host their whole basketball recreation, like, use my gyms. Here's when it's available. So and we have a great relationship. So, because it's all about the community. And why would I not help kids that are eventually going to be coming to Manalapan? Like,
without a doubt, right?
That's simple.
Yeah,
that's easy to do.
I think it leaves a good impression on the kid alone too. It's like, I've been here before,
right?
I think
100%.
that's great.
Yeah.
Huh. And it's also like, you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
100%.
Like, the favors go back and forth, and that also builds a great relationship as well.
And that's everywhere. That's with officials. Like, you want to treat the officials with respect. You want to make sure spectators are treating them with respect because they're not going to take games. They're going to stop coming. And there's already an official shortage. There's a bus driver shortage. There's a official shortage.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I've had to cancel games because we don't have a bus, or my opponent doesn't have a bus.
Oh, really?
Or there's not enough officials. That happens more on the sub-varsity because they would pull from freshman and JV for a varsity game.
Sure.
But then that sets up, right? You have an official that was meant to do a freshman game now doing a varsity game.
And I'm sure there's a decently big difference.
Right. And there's some frustration.
Yeah.
But, it's always focus on what you can control. Those are things we cannot control.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
like, you know, it's one of those things. And then you have incredibly hardworking bus drivers that are doing 4 runs.
Yeah.
You know, like
yeah.
they do their regular bus run, then they pick up a team, drop it off at Township, then take from Township, go back to Manalapan. They're like doing triple runs
Yeah.
for these kids to play.
Yeah.
And, you know, but when you're a coach and you're trying to strategize and your bus is a half an hour late, it's hard. I was like, take a breath. It's not this woman's fault. It's not
Right.
this man's fault.
Right.
They're here to help you.
Of course.
So it's
of
like,
course.
you know, but it's all team. Like my office is all team. My assistant is great. I call her mom. She's the best. She is the best. My athletic trainer is amazing. So those, and again, my staff, because it's not just coaches. It's who's going to do my clock, who's going to do my timing, who's going to do my security.
Yeah.
Like you have to get people to buy in to that.
And who, like, so you say that, like, who's doing security? Is it other teachers from Manalapan and whatnot?
Yes.
Okay, it is.
Or
All
it's
right.
my security guards or, you know, coaches from another season.
Right.
So, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really got to build relationships.
100%.
You got to build relationships. It helps out a long way in
yeah.
getting the help that you need and whatnot.
And
Yeah.
even with other athletic directors, because it's so nice because they're really the only ones who know what you're going through. Like, you know, people get like, oh, it's really busy. Your hours are crazy, you know?
Yeah.
But like, when you're in a room with just ADs, like we just have a look and we like feel each other.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. Like this fall was probably the most stressful fall and opening of school I've ever had in my career. Like
Really?
athletic career. Educational career. And it was just, the weather killed me as an athletic director because I felt like we were in Jumanji. Like every week I leveled up for something else. Like, it was all of a sudden became too hot. We got wet bulbed. Oh, you're not allowed outside, the humidity. And then I had like mud wasps, which are wasps that come from the ground. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that happened.
I didn't know that either.
And then the rain. The monsooning, the lightning. Of course, the lightning storms, I was always hosting football. You know, I was like, should I cancel? Am I pushing it back? I'm looking at a Doppler radar. Like, I don't, I've never taken a weather course. I'm like,
what am I looking at right now?
I'm looking at it. It seems like it might miss us. Like, like, I'm not sure, you know? And with Manalapan, too, like, our fields are kind of like salad bowls because we walk down. So when it rains, it just sits there for a while. So if we have a hard rain, which we did multiple days, I couldn't get on my field for 3 days. So now I'm like,
just puddles
yes.
is out. Yeah.
So now I'm like, and then I try and get a varsity field, but then I feel bad for my JV and freshmen. And then I'm so type A that I'd wake up in the middle of the night and be like, did I order the bus? Did I change the officials? Even though I did,
right.
I checked it like 5 times.
Yeah.
My mind wouldn't let me. So this was just a real stressful beginning of the school year for me. In the fall, I'm like, I'm glad I got through it. But it was so nice because I wasn't alone. Like one of my AD friends, sure enough, called me like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "Yeah, me too." Like it was just so nice. It was like unspoken. I'm like, I don't think I've eaten lunch in 4 days because you didn't realize.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that camaraderie and that like kind of the cool kids club. Like I'm part of a club that I didn't even know I wanted to be part of.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And it's cool because we have to work together. We know each other, and the conventions are really good when we get to actually be human and then talk. Like it's so nice. I'm like, oh my God, you've been married how long? And you get to know people's story. It's really nice.
I got a couple last questions for you.
Sure.
One, you're bringing up all the help that you get and the like little team that you built together and everything like that. Do you guys hang out and everything after work and whatnot and like have a, like get to relax a little bit?
Definitely with the ADs. We try and do that. Like, our meetings, we have lunch. It's laughable. It's like our de-stress and then we go back to work.
Yeah,
so all of our meetings are normally off campus. So we have that little break.
Yes.
But the caveat that's a little different is now being an admin, always keeping that separation.
Yeah,
staff,
and I
right?
feel like that could be a little bit tricky.
Right. So, but I've gone golfing with I go golfing with some of my coaches, we're end of the season. And then there's an end of the year banquet. So I take everybody out. I order I take all my coaches out and order appetizers.
Oh, nice.
But I always have an open door of communication. So like, even though I'm an admin, every one of my coaches have my cell phone number. Like they could text me right now, like, Beth, I need you, or something like that. And I've had personal phone calls with all of them just to check in on them. Like, oh, they're probably like reeling right now. So I'll shoot them a text like, do you want to talk it over?
Yeah.
Are you ready yet?
Right.
Do you want to come and, or they'll stop by my office, which is really refreshing. Because like I said, I was a little nervous being a female, like how male athletes and male coaches would receive me.
Yeah, right.
But that was just so silly. That was immediately
like silly to think about.
Silly. If you saw me interact with them, you would have.
Yeah.
So silly that was even on my radar. But like, I've never coached guys.
Listen, understandable that you felt that way.
I never coached guys. I've taught them, and I get along with them. But them honestly coming for advice, saying like, Beth, what should I do here?
Yeah.
Like, it was like, wow, like the respect was earned and reciprocated.
Right.
So, and it's all about respect, and it's all about listening and giving people their time. And even when parents call, but by the time they call my office, they're hot. They're out of 10. Like, they're like, and like, sometimes I'm like this, but they just want to be heard, and they care about your kid. And I'm like, trust me, so do I.
Yeah.
Like, I'm part of your village.
Yeah.
And then it's just really just listening. Because I've never really had a parent who's called me and they're so off base. Like, there's always something like, oh, that's a good point. Like, I'm going to look into that. Like, I'll work through that. Like, that's, but, you always have to move forward.
Yeah.
Because you can't live in the past, right? You can't. You can't. We can't keep on going back to it. And humans are flawed. Adults are flawed at times, and kids, everybody. So it's all about learning and growing together, but constantly trying to move forward and just be better. Whether, you don't have to, be a better skill-wise player after every practice, but learn something.
Yeah.
Even
if that just makes you a better person,
100%.
better
and that's
personality, mentality, whatever it
right.
could be.
And that's what I tell my veteran coaches, because they have to evolve right now, because the student athlete 20 years ago, it's not the same. So you have to evolve. You have to step out of your comfort zone. And that's difficult for some people.
Yeah.
So like, helping mentor people, that is great. But then what I love the aspect too is interviewing people and seeing if they're a good fit. Like, that's something I never did in my career. So even though I was in education and now I'm still in education, I feel like I completely changed. Like, I'm almost in business. So
yeah, right.
Like,
to see who is a good fit in that sense.
I never hired and fired. Like, I'm coming up with questions. I have to read people.
Yeah,
and then I'm like, all right, I got to help him now,
right,
or help her get through this. And then I'm like, ooh, maybe that was the wrong horse. So like, that was a big thing for me, but it was so exciting. And I love to help mentor new coaches, right?
Yeah.
And it was so great. So one of my coaches actually put in for a male assistant job, and interviewing him, I was like, ooh, I think he could coach girls. I think he would be a better fit.
Yeah.
And listen, my whole career, I taught guys how to coach girls, right? Or at least tried. I'm like, all right, Stoya, for example. Like, Stoya, I need a softball assistant. That's how we started coaching girls. It was all my fault. You know what I mean? As I said, it was all mine. And then, so we coached forever. But like, I always coached with males on my program. So when I saw it, I was like, listen, you didn't get the boys' job, but like, are you willing to come in and have lunch with me? I got a proposition for you. I got an idea for you.
Yeah.
So like, that kind of diamond in the rough, I never would have that opportunity as a teacher.
Right.
So
right,
that's really cool. Or even helping.
I'm sure you enjoy that a lot.
I love that. I love that. I do.
Yeah.
But that also made me realize, like, okay, I didn't have to coach anymore. Like, that is my passion now, is helping people get to their best coaching selves.
Yes. Finding where they best fit.
Right.
And strive.
Right. And then giving them advice. Like, sometimes I even shock myself. I'm like, ooh, that was a good line. I'm like, well, that was good. I was like, I gotta remember that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like someone came, they're like, and I'm like, well, you're not coaching yourself. It'd be really easy if I had a team of Beth Englishes. I would know exactly. We'd probably win. We'd probably have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It'd be great. No drama. But like, that's not it. Like, you're right. And that's like one of the things that letting go. So being so far removed from it and older and wiser, it's so nice to give that, but then help the veteran coaches. Like, I've been there too, bud. So it's really an interesting dynamic, which is so cool. And even evaluating teachers. Like, I'm like, oh, that was really good. Like, or this is something that I did, and I share like everything. Like I was always one of those people. Like if I had a good lesson plan, I shared it to everybody. Like I was never a hoarder. Like no, only E103 is going to see this.
Right,
like,
right.
No, if my kids really liked this, maybe you guys would.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And it's just more collaborative on this level.
Very nice. Okay.
And the majority of really everybody has welcomed me, and from my knowledge, welcome my advice.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a gotcha person. I'm never looking to get you, kind of thing. But when I first started, I would like roll up at practices, and like coaches would be like, "What's the matter? What's wrong?" I'm like, "Nothing. I'm just hanging out. I want to see the team. I want to see if you need anything."
Right.
I was like, "I'm not here to." Like I forgot,
be inspecting,
yes,
or
I forgot. I'm like, oh my god, I'm Darth Vader. I
Yeah.
crossed over, I crossed over to the dark side. Like I come and everyone, like all of a sudden, everybody was talking, and then I showed up, and everyone's like, I was like, oh, I forgot. Am I the bad guy? I've never been the bad guy. I'm not used to that. Like I swear I'm nice. But they're like, yeah, you're an admin. You can fire us. Like, I'm like, I'm not going to.
Yeah,
I don't
right,
want to.
right,
I really don't want to do that.
And that's probably when they first met you too.
Right, of course.
Like that.
So, but when it comes to social, it's really the admin or other ADs. But I'm just too caring. I am, like I said, very starting off, like genuine. I can't turn this on or off. Like I stopped trying to do that.
Yeah.
So when I see someone who's upset, like, do you need a hug? Like, I was like, I'll give you a hug. Like, I've had emotional conversations with people and kids and parents. Like, I've hugged parents. I've hugged staff. I've hugged players. I've hugged kids. I've hugged other admin.
Yeah.
It's like so funny. And then every time I hug, I'm like, are you okay? Because I also know if I'm trying not to cry or be upset, I can't have anyone touch me. Because I'm one of those people like, don't touch me.
Oh, really?
Yes, because I'm trying to hold it together.
Right.
If someone hugs me,
you'll break down.
Yes, because I'm like, oh, someone loves me.
Yeah, I would be the same way.
And then I'm like ugly crying, snotting on their shoulder. And I'm like, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm so sorry. That is so not attractive. But I'm just like, I got to hold it together. Like, don't touch me. Because you touch me and show you care. I'm going to do that. Yes. Yes, so
I'm holding it together right now.
I can't do it, but you have those moments where you have to hug people, but then you have these moments where people are so happy. Like there's been times where I'm on the football sideline and all of a sudden we make this great interception, and before I know it, like half the team, I'm up in the air and I'm cheering. People like that is things that you can't duplicate.
It has to be one of the best feelings in the world.
It is, and just to be part, like. I have really no stake in it, but I'm still part of it.
Yeah,
and it's amazing. It's
yeah.
amazing. Because after a win, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything other than just hype them up.
Yeah.
So talking to a coach, congratulating them, telling a kid how great they did or how proud I am of them, that hits different.
Without a doubt.
And it hits different that it's not a coach. Like I remember when I was a head coach, I always tried to compliment the opposing team. Like, I couldn't stop you. We had no answer for you today.
That's just great sportsmanship.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember when other coaches did that to me in high school, I was like, wow, it meant almost more than my coach, because my coach had to say it, right, in my mind. But this coach had nothing.
Yeah, no business or like,
complimenting
yeah, right. You didn't need to.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is a really good thing that I don't think anyone does enough is compliment other people.
Without a doubt.
Like you need to compliment other people. And I think it's a big thing for girls. Girls, I think women in general have been trained to always be in competition with other women or, men and women. Where men really don't see women as competition or other men. They're like, they're the bro squad. That's why you have like, the boys club, right?
Right.
Because not only do they mentor, but they advocate. Like, I got a boy for you.
Right.
I got a guy.
Yeah.
So it's like all these things where women, in general, and I'm generalizing.
Yeah.
They mentor, but maybe not advocate. Like, oh, this girl's really good, but maybe might sit on it because maybe that's a competition. Maybe if she's going to get something
right.
like that. Where, but if we let go of that and complimented and it hit harder, it's like great.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So I do the laws. I made this thing up where I do 8, 8, and 8 because I heard this that psychologically you should get 8 hugs a day.
Really? Okay.
Full disclosure, I don't know the study, but I remember reading it.
Okay.
Specifically, 8 hugs a day. Mm-hmm. So what I've been doing is trying to give 8 compliments a day and 8 things that I'm grateful for, like a gratitude, 8 things.
Okay.
Every day.
To other people or
well,
like to yourself?
To other people.
Yeah.
And then what I'm grateful for, I do 8.
Right.
So
right.
I count
okay.
out loud. Like
yeah.
Today I had a banging lunch.
Hell yeah.
It was so good. I was like, I am grateful for my veggie fajita double veg.
Nice.
Keep the rice, keep tortilla, double veg. It was delicious. I was so happy. And I got to see other ADs. I had a meeting today.
Okay.
So I was like really grateful for that. I was grateful to get out. It was a beautiful morning. It was a beautiful day.
It was.
Like, yes.
Yeah,
all
it
these
was.
kind of stuff. I just found out one of my students is signing D1 in December.
Great.
So I had to save that up. I was like, oh my God. So I want 8 hugs, 8 compliments, and 8 things to be grateful for a day.
I love that.
Yeah.
And
it all started with the 8 hugs. I'm like, I got to give 8 hugs a day.
Yeah.
I was like, how am I going to do this? Sometimes it's hard.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I want to look up that study actually.
It's definitely a study with the hugs, but I'm trying to. The complimenting is so important because I think everyone deserves that. Everyone needs it.
Everyone needs their hype, man.
Right.
Well, and not even just that. Like, just everyone in general, like, needs to hear more positive things from someone else about themselves.
Right. And
you
reassurance.
Know? Reassurance, right.
Because
right.
Even in the position I am and as wonderfully blessed as I am with my massive circle of people, right?
Yeah.
When I get complimented, I'm awkward about it. Like, I'm trying to work on that. Like, it's so hard to accept compliments, too. Like, most people are like, no, stop. Or no, or deflect.
Right.
Because if you're like, oh, thank you, that means a lot to me.
In that moment, absolutely.
Right, because you feel like you're being conceited or something.
Right.
Like, that's how
But then
I felt.
afterwards, like, you think about what that person said. You're driving home thinking about what that person said. Biggest smile on the face.
Right, like, that was good. I need to own that.
Yeah, right. Like, thinking about it afterwards.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
2 last things I have for you. One is, do you still keep in touch with any of your Freehold Township crew?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay,
yeah.
good. I'm glad to hear that.
They are my people. I do my science department girls. We do dinner or brunch.
Oh, nice.
So that's like Conrad, Nolan, Clark.
Yeah.
We all hang out. I'm still very close with the Gatas.
Okay, very good.
Mike and Aaron.
Yeah.
I was in their wedding too.
Oh, nice.
And like I said, Melissa LaPlaga and I are like best friends. But what's even crazier is Stoya is now a short conference athletic director at RBR.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Mr. Mel is the AD at Borough.
Wow.
Yes, and then we have Brusati, who's at Township, obviously.
Yeah.
So you have that circle already in it and everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, and obviously you guys are in constant communication in that sense anyway.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wow, that's great. That's great. It's
and
almost
it's
like
also
coming in full circle in a sense.
Oh,
with
100%.
that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Just so many ADs coming from the regional specifically, but then Freehold Township.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
like crazy that we have that many shore people.
Well, not just that, but like Township like breeded some pretty impressive like like athletic directors come out. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Last question for you. A question that I found kind of interesting that I thought about during this podcast. What would you say is the most important level of athletics in any sport when it comes to high school? Varsity, junior varsity, or I guess freshman, you know, right? What would you say is the most important to concentrate on as far as advancing a student's skill level?
I think the varsity is the most magnified because it gets the presses, it gets the social media. You know, that is the most important because it's giving the culture of the school, right? Like, we're good at this, look at us. Like, you know, it shows more success.
It's almost like a title.
Right.
Yeah.
So varsity is the magnified of success, right? That's how you value your program. Like,
Without a
what's
doubt.
your varsity do? So when you do that, that's where it is. But the real nugget of it, I believe, is freshmen, because that's where you foster the passion and love for the sport. You're teaching the sport, but it's the passion and love.
Yeah.
And because it's not all about the results or the wins and losses, you have more of an opportunity to get more people playing and be a little bit riskier, or
Without a doubt.
have a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Because you're not reading about it in the Asbury Park Press, or, you're not getting the top 50 freshman teams on NJ.com.
There's a lot more freedom and like leeway with it.
Right. Because it's not reported.
Right.
So when it's not reported, the pressure is less.
Yes.
And I think it's so important for freshmen to get a feel of the school.
Yeah, and it's also a great first impression too.
Right. So I think that is pinnacle and so important.
I was just kidding about that being the last question. I have one more for you. So last question is, and I do this a lot with a lot of the spotlight interviews that I do with other creators and whatnot. In like the next 5 to 10 years, where do you see yourself in like your position and whatnot? Maybe advancing to an even further higher up position. Where would you like to be? And what are some future goals for yourself in the upcoming years and whatnot?
Right. I don't really see. I know a lot of people ask me if I ever wanted to be a principal or like a superintendent.
Right.
And I don't see that as
No.
a fit
Oh,
for
you
me.
don't?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't believe that's something that I'm striving for.
Yeah.
I do really want to do a lot of research based on, athletics on the high school level.
Yeah.
Help and really make connections, not within the short conference, within New Jersey, and then even national. I would love to, because I think we're all dealing with the same issues. And I think there's some policies that need to be in place.
Yeah.
So whether it's making those issues aware, being part of the policy making, or even advocating.
Yeah.
Advocating for what's right for kids.
Without a doubt.
Because I think a lot of times we get lost in the sauce there.
Sure.
And when it comes to education, there's so many things to focus on.
Yeah.
So maybe taking the athletic and activities part, because, I want to advocate for, the kids that are in activities. Just because you're an athlete, you're not going to be an athlete for the rest of your life.
Right.
Unless you're Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
So I want to put policies in place to protect, advocate, and foster what's right for kids, because I think they need a voice, and I'll be the voice for them.
I love that. That's great. And I could see you doing that too and everything like that. I think you have a strong enough, not that I think I know, you have a strong influence on a lot of people, and people might only know you for a year, and I feel like you could still have a huge impact on them and whatnot, and a big influence on them. I think you're going to strive with this position that you got going on right now, and I think with the athletic director position and the connection, like what we've been talking about through this whole podcast, the connections you've been making and relationships you've been making and whatnot, I think you could do exactly what you just said and make an impact and make certain situations aware of to other people, and make policies and maybe rules in place and whatnot for those things. And it's almost like a reform, like that's what it sounds like. And I think you got this. You got it.
Thanks,
you
Frank.
got it. Yeah,
I love
absolutely. English, it was excellent to have you on this podcast. I have a great time, and I think we should do this again one time. Have Luke on here as well. We'll have some sort of top 5 list going on for some sort of category. We'll figure it out.
I love that, because I'm obviously a literature buff. I love movies.
Yeah,
I'm all in.
Yeah, we'll figure something out for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe we could do top 5 movies
Based
that
on
originated from books.
Let's go. I already know. I boom. I have 3 already.
I have a couple in mind.
Yeah, I really would have to think about that.
Yeah. That's a good one. We'll definitely get that running.
Luke's just so funny to me.
Yeah.
I might be laughing like the whole time.
Yeah, that's great. Luke's like, he's funny, and what the funniest part about him is that not even what he says, but like he just doesn't stop saying.
His mannerism, his faces. I love everything about it.
He's just a nonstop machine. That's what it is. And I just find it hilarious. He's the one that got me to start this podcast and everything like that. He's the best. He is the best. No, yeah, I'm grateful for that wedding, obviously, because one of my best buds got married. But to reconnect with a bunch of people like yourself and whatnot, and get to see a lot of people I haven't seen in a while too.
Right.
It was just a beautiful day. It was a beautiful day.
I agree.
Yeah. But all right. That's all I had for you. So I want to thank you again. I really appreciate it. We'll have you on again. And I don't know if I mentioned this before. This is like in my mind, this has been in the works for a while. It's like manifesting English on the podcast. Like I've been wanting you on the podcast, so I'm glad it finally happened. All right. If you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Also follow us on all social media platforms at Frank_videos. And you can listen to this podcast audio only version on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. And with all that being said, we hope you have a wonderful night. And peace out. Number 2 is The Last of Us, man. And this was the character, Joel, that I think might be up to par with Rick Grimes, to be honest with you.
I'll be the judge of that. When I watch it, I will be the judge of that.
Bro, think of it this way. It's my number 2 on this list, and there's only been one season of it.
That's
that good.
I know. I am. It's gonna be great. I know. I am a Pedro Pascal fan. Believe me, this is a Pedro Pascal. This is a Pedro Pascal positivity posted promotional podcast.
Yeah, there you go. I like that.
That's the title of the episode.